Okay. As I'm sure you know, infant formula plays a very important role in WIC. Each month, about 87% of all WIC infants receive infant formula from WIC. That includes 69% of all WIC infants who are fully formula fed, that's the blue slice, as well as 18% of all WIC infants who are partially breastfed, that's the green slice. Today I'm going to talk about the cost implications of providing infant formula through WIC. So let's begin by looking at some of the characteristics of the infant formula market. Okay, the market is highly concentrated. 3 firms accounted for about 98% of all infant formula sales in 2008, the latest data available. That includes Mead Johnson, maker of Infamil, Abbott, maker of Similac, and Gerber, formerly Nestle, maker of Good Start. There are many different infant formula products on the market. You have different bases, milk base, soy base, different physical forms, powder, liquid concentrate, ready to feed, and many different container sizes. By base, milk base accounts for 80% of the sales. By physical form, powder accounts for 83% of the sales. Within the group of powdered formula, 12 to 16 ounce cans account for 70% of the sales. The demand for infant formula is decreasing. The number of births in the U.S. has decreased each year since 2007. Breastfeeding rates have been increasing for an even longer period of time. Okay, WIC is the major purchaser of infant formula in the United States. We estimated a while back that WIC accounts for 57 to 68% of all formula sold in 2004 through 2006. Now this chart shows the market value of WIC food items. You see that infant formula, there on the bottom, is the most expensive WIC food item by far, with a market value of over $2.5 billion. That accounts for about 42% of the market value of all WIC foods. But this isn't what WIC pays for formula. To reduce costs, federal law requires that WIC state agencies enter into cost containment contracts for the purchase of infant formula. Typically, WIC state agencies obtain significant discounts in the form of rebates from the infant formula manufacturers for each can of formula purchased through WIC. In exchange for the rebate, a manufacturer is given the exclusive right to provide its formula to WIC participants in that state. As a result, the brand of formula provided by WIC varies by state depending upon which company holds the contract. These single source contracts are competitively bid, and the contracts goes to the infant formula manufacturer offering the lowest net price, where the net price equals the wholesale price minus the rebate. Since most WIC participants purchase infant formula in retail food stores using a WIC voucher or EBT card, WIC also pays the retail markup. So the final cost to WIC for a can of formula is equal to the net price plus the retail markup. Note that the two components of the final cost to WIC are set by different market agents. Manufacturers set the net price, retailers set the retail markup. The retail markup is usually a small component of the cost of most food products, and I'm going to focus solely on the net price component of the infant formula cost to WIC. The contracts are usually for about 4 years, and then they are rebid. In some states join together to form a multi-state alliance in order to increase their leverage while soliciting bids. This chart shows the rebates as a percentage of the wholesale price for milk-based powder formula as of February 2013. On the horizontal axis, you have the the contracts by state in chronological order, and on the vertical axis, you have the percent. The top line is 100%. So you can see that the rebates WIC receives from the infant formula manufacturers are large, very large. On average, among the contracts in effect as of February 2013, the average rebate as a percentage of the wholesale price was 92%. In other words, WIC is paying 8% of the wholesale price for formula, plus the retail markup. In some states, it was even more. For example, in the multi-state alliance consisting of Arkansas or New Mexico and North Carolina, it was 98%. Okay? Now, when I prepared this slide, this table, back in 2013, since that time, there have been 8 new contracts awarded. And in general, the rebates are, as a percent of the wholesale price, remains high, with maybe one exception. In fact, 2 states, Florida and Tennessee, are now paying 1% of the wholesale price for infant formula. 1%. That begs the question, why are infant formula manufacturers offering such large rebates to WIC? And this chart will help inform the answer. It shows the market share of the formula manufacturers by WIC contract brand status using California, the largest WIC state, as an example. We limit the analysis to milk-based powder in 12 to 16-ounce cans. This is the WIC size container. On the vertical axis, you have market share, and on the horizontal axis, you have weeks. Notice that week 0 in the middle represents the week in which the WIC contract brand changed from one manufacturer to another. And we have 1 year of data before the change and 1 year of data after the contract changed. So the chart shows that the former WIC contract brand holder, while they held the contract, had a market share of about 90%. They lost the contract, their market share goes to 5%. See the opposite for the new winner. They had 5% of the market. After they won the contract, it's over 95% of the market share. On average, across all states, the market share for the winning manufacturer increased by 84 percentage points after they won the contract. Now, what would this chart show if we just focused on the non-WIC formula, that is, formula in the non-WIC sizes? You'd probably say, well, it's outside of WIC, there wouldn't be any WIC effect. Well, here we find that it's not as distinct as in the previous chart, but there is still a very strong WIC effect. Notice, Notice the former contract brand, they had about 50% of the market. They lost the contract. It goes down to less than 30% of the market. And you see the opposite for the winning. After they won the contract, their market share increased to over 60%. So, on average, the market share of the winning manufacturer increased by 18 percentage points after winning the contract. There are a number of possible mechanisms by why this might have happened, but the main reason is probably due to retailers devoting more shelf space and better product placement to the WIC brand of formula, since it accounts for so much of the store's sales. So this chart shows that the benefits of winning the WIC contract spill over to non-WIC sales. These spillover impacts in WIC are important since the manufacturers don't pay a rebate for the non-WIC formula. So manufacturers' per can revenues for non-WIC formulas are over 12 times greater than their revenues for the WIC, for formula sold through WIC. This is the same chart. This is the same chart you saw earlier, but now it reflects WIC food costs. The section in red represents the amount of the rebate. The blue area represents the cost to WIC. Before rebates, formula accounted for 42% of all WIC food costs. After rebates, it accounts for 20%. In fiscal year 2014, rebates totaled $1.8 billion. As you know, WIC is not an entitlement program, and the number of people who can be served may be limited by the annual funding levels established by Congress. The use of infant formula rebates play a major role in reducing food costs and maximizing the number of people the program can serve under a fixed budget. This chart shows the number of people who are who participate in WIC over time. The area in red represents the number of participants supported by infant formula rebates. In fiscal year 2014, rebates supported about 22% of all WIC participants. Okay, so you can see that the use of infant formula rebates lost my place. Okay, so you can see that in terms of cost containment, rebates are a big success story. Okay, but what's the trend in net prices? Is WIC paying more for infant formula than they did in the past? Okay, so what we've done, we've compared the real net prices in the contracts, in states' current contracts, which were defined as those in effect as of February 2013. And we compared that to the net price in their previous contract, okay, after adjusting for inflation. So the net price of formula, as you can see, has actually decreased between the current contract and the previous contract, okay? This decrease represents a 43% decrease in net price. So we're talking about a very sizable decrease. The note there reminds us that there are two components to net price, wholesale price and the amount of the rebate. Let's look to see what happened to them. So as you can see, the real wholesale price of formula has increased in recent years. That is, the wholesale price has increased faster than inflation. This estimate was based on the manufacturer's primary milk-based powder formula for routine feeding. In recent years, a large number of formulas have been introduced into the market with additives, including DHA. You have probiotics, prebiotics. You have formulas for fussiness, colic, diarrhea, spit up, formulas that supplement breastfeeding, even formulas that differ by the age of the infant. Some people have expressed concern about what they refer to as these new designer formulas and their effectiveness and their impact on wholesale cost. But at least in recent years, the amount of the rebate exceeds the increase in the real wholesale price. Now remember, we're subtracting the rebate from the wholesale price to get the net price. So as a result, the real net price to WIC has decreased. So why did rebates increase so much? It's probably due, at least in part, to the decrease in the demand for formula. In the face of a shrinking market, manufacturers may be bidding more aggressively for the WIC contracts in order to maintain their sales volume. So, although wholesale prices are increasing, rebates are increasing even more. And as a result, net prices, that is what WIC pays for infant formula, holding retail markup constant, is decreasing. So everything is good, right? Well, the answer right now is yes, but there is some cause for concern. Counterintuitively, the concern is due to the very effectiveness of the rebate program. As we saw earlier, WIC has come to rely on manufacturers' rebates as a critical source of savings. But if, for example, rebates were to decrease or wholesale prices were to increase significantly, it could have a large impact on WIC food cost and the program's ability to serve all eligible applicants. Remember, both the rebate and the wholesale price are not under the direct control of WIC. They are determined by the manufacturers. Numerous factors may affect the net price offered by the manufacturers, including product innovations, economic conditions, changes in the demand for formula, changes in WIC, changes in the number of firms bidding for WIC contracts. Currently, only 3 manufacturers, Abbott, Mead Johnson, and Gerber, bid on the WIC contracts. If one of these were to no longer bid on the contracts, it could have a potentially large impact on the competitiveness of the bids of the 2 remaining firms. So because of the uncertainty associated with these various factors, it's difficult to predict just what the price of infant formula to WIC will be in the future.
Does anybody have any clarification questions for Vic from the committee? or the consultants?
My question relates to your statement that that the reason the WIC, that the companies, the formula companies, could manage to make it so cheap had to do with shelf space and prominent placement. However, in my local grocery stores, you can hardly find a can of WIC formula. They have it behind the counter, like the place they sell cigarettes. I think it's fraud, but I'm not really sure. Have you heard of that?
I'm having trouble hearing everything you said, but...
How about if I get it closer so you can hear me now?
Yes, yes.
It's a little far away. In my local grocery stores, some of them have the WIC formula not on the shelves, not at the checkout, but behind the place where you go to get your cans redeemed and they sell cigarettes and give you your money back. That's not a convenient location. It seems like they're hiding the formula there, and it's hard to believe that it's an advantage to them.
Okay.
Is that common?
That's happened in some states, some stores that I'm familiar with, and they do it because of the cost of infant formula. It is so expensive that there was theft, and so to control it, they put it in a space where they have some control of.